We've been talking about this absolutely appalling murder which is dominating the news today. How unusual are these types of cases where children kill other children?
Of course, they're very happily quite rare, and we've seen all still the memory of Jamie Bulger and John Beneville's was of course his murder, and that keeps that's still in the public conscience now, what, some 30 or more years later. I think the tragedy and the wickedness here is when you get two people who've sort of got the same ideas, so the sort of Fred West and Rose West, the Myra Hindley and Ian Brady. Would they have committed those crimes if they had not met each other? You know, this awful combination of things that bring it together. And the other thing I think that galls a lot of people is that the two, the girl and boy involved in this wicked murder, they're allowed to remain anonymous. Now, I was a soldier at 16 years old, and we're often told by usually left-wing MPs that 16-year-olds can have the vote. So if you can vote, you should be able to be named for the wicked crimes that you've done. People should know who these people are. And I think that would give the parents of the victims some comfort as well, that people were known and they had been, you know, shamed and shown that people knew who'd done this wicked crime. So I think those two main issues. Luckily, it's very rare, but I think sometimes two people get together and it's just a deadly combination, which fortunately that's not very often.
Yeah, and one of the unusual things about this case is the fact that so much of the hate that fueled this appalling murder was harvested from the internet, including from this thing called the dark web. And of course, people are more able than ever now who share sort of these appalling and vile ideas to connect up via the means of the internet. Do you think these type of murders, children murdering children, people being motivated by the internet, are getting more common here in the United Kingdom?
I think they're still very, very rare. And of course, people like Ian Brady, Jack the Ripper, Peter Sutcliffe, they had no access to the internet. John Venables, they had no access to the internet. So wickedness will always be there. What's the problem, of course, is whether you're researching building a bridge or committing horrific murders. Of course, the research these days, whereas one time you'd have to spend many, many months and go to different libraries and the like, now you can simply access that data very easily. I'm a crime historian. The things you can find on the internet about people from the past are amazing. It's very quick. But of course, with all the positivity of that for people who are doing a good thing, of course, people can access really terrible things like how to commit murder, how to make bombs and all sorts of evil things. So luckily these are very few and far between. And I just think the judge at the time of Myra Hindley and Ian Brady made the point about how two evil people can come together and this happens. And I'm appalled that this has happened in this case. And I just feel for the parents so much, because no one deserves to lose a child.
And Mike, we're going to learn later this morning whether in fact the two individuals can be named. But one of the other really striking things which will have just struck fear into the heart of every parent, in fact, every person who read this, was just the lack of remorse from these two unnamed individuals. How long do you think, obviously there's one sentence in the United Kingdom for murder, that's life imprisonment, but it doesn't often, very, very rarely, in fact, does life mean life. How long do you think these individuals are likely to spend in prison before they become eligible for some sort of parole hearing or early release?
Well, if you look at the Bulger case, you're talking they were only in prison for some less than 10 years, I think 8 years, albeit they were younger. These two are now 16. I'd be very surprised if they served more than 12 years, because they'll be dealt with as young offenders. And so there will be some consideration taken into the fact that they haven't shown any remorse and the like. But to their advantage is their age. And I would be very surprised if they weren't released on licence after 12 years.
I mean, that just strikes me as completely wrong, given the fact that, you know, they've shown no remorse, and maybe when they spend those 12 years, even though it's not long enough, we don't know what it is quite yet, in prison, they'll have a bit of an opportunity to think about it. Could you say, though, I mean, would you ever feel comfortable with these sorts of individuals being released? Will they ever be truly safe in our society, or should we be looking to lock them up for longer?
Personally, I think if you're wicked and evil, you are simply wicked and evil. Like I've been on this program about John Venables. You know, the moment he's released, he's looking at filthy child pornography, and as soon as he's done, he's taken back into prison. There are a few individuals who can have all sorts of counsel and the like, but as I understand it, these two youngsters, teenagers, they come from quite reasonable homes. It's not as though they've come from some awful background where you can justify it by that. So I don't know if they'll ever change. And when you release people, of course, you're taking a chance on society. And I just think too often people are released too early. And this is a very, very difficult case. You know, when people are 15 and 16, but when I know myself, I was old enough to make a decision to join the army at 15 and actually enlist at 16. So if I could be treated like an adult then, I knew what right and wrong was then. They must do the same. And this is not some petty fight where somebody's pulled out a knife by chance. This is pre-planned. We've all seen these documents where they've written down what they're going to do. It's the way that the female killer coaxed Brianna to the park, and so there's all manner of planning, all manner of enjoyment out of this, and the fact that having done 28 times, I believe, the stabbing, 28 stab wounds, and then as you say in court, one of them becomes mute. Whether that's selective or not, is it put on or not, and then they show utterly no remorse. So all those factors together tell me that they should be locked away for a very long time until somebody who's a real expert or several experts can tell us that they're eligible to be released.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us there.